what drove me to Atlanta was being in Alabama, producing. Then I had my crew. My crew was called Crumb Snatchers at the time. We had like a rap clique, and we had our own little Wu-Tang story, right? So we going through the things, and finally we had gotten our songs on the radio because they weren't rocking with local artists at the time.
Wow.
Matter of fact, we were one of the ones that made them create a homegrown thing where they could play local talent.
Nice.
And our song excelled past that, and we had like the #1 song in the city, and things were booming. But then that's when I realized that, man, okay, what's next? Because you can only perform in the local clubs so much before they get tired of seeing you. Like, how do we get beyond this?
Right.
And I realized that although we was kicking up so much dust in Alabama, to the major labels, Alabama was considered other with Wyoming and other smaller markets.
Right. Okay.
So it wasn't getting the attention regardless. So I was like, okay, I got to make a move.
Right.
And then it became one of those points to where I started seeing people that I respected and their parents like using me as the example of failure. Like telling their kids, you keep doing music, you're going to be like Khao, chasing the dream, doing nothing with your life. And I overheard one of the mothers of one of the little homies I was working with say that. And she didn't know I came in the house. And I was like, oh, man, that's what they think. And then I realized, like, either I'm going to start believing them or I got to get out of here.
Right.
So I took my leap of faith to Atlanta. I didn't have nothing.
You are now watching Rhymes and Politic. Spit them balls.
Yo, check it out. It's your right hand man, Cise, the host of Rhymes and Politic. Check this out, man. We got a good one for y'all, man. Look who we sitting next to.
Hey.
Multi-platinum producer, Grammy. Yo, this guy got so much history in this game. Look, we're looking at plaques. We're here in studio, KMG Studios here in College Park, Atlanta.
My man.
Hold on. I gotta keep giving you some more flowers, bro. One of the forefathers of the trap sound, man.
Amen.
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about your businesses, your come up in this music industry. Just talk about that coming to Atlanta. What inspired you to get into music?
You know, I think, man, music was always a part of me, bro. Like, from coming up, you know, moving from LA, moving to Alabama, being raised in Alabama. I mean, I was rhyming before I was even making beats. So I was rapping at the age of 8 years old.
Wow.
You know, and from there, I started making beats in high school because I started knowing the kind of music I would want to rap to.
Got you.
But then I realized the gift I had in producing and the love I got for it as well. And, you know, it kind of really took off from there.
Did anybody mentor you as far as making beats? Or did you just learn on your own? Like,
I was a student of the game, bro.
Okay.
I mean, I say that to say the gift for me coming up in Alabama was at the time we didn't have a sound. So we loved all music. So I'm listening to everything going on in New York.
Right,
you know,
right.
I'm being, you know, just jamming to, I mean, just all the greats. I mean, you know, from at this time it was Daz Effects and you had Fushnikins, you had, of course, Onyx. You had all these different artists that, you know, we came up to, and I'm like, you know, then they had us in Alabama rocking the Carhartt vest, and you know, we didn't really have our. But then we also was listening to the West Coast and everything else. So what it did was it made me a more well-versed producer. And then when I got into producing, it was like my peers around me. One of my brothers' name is Dr. Fingers, who's a super dope producer in Alabama.
Okay.
And then my other brother is Rick Rock. Rick Rock's on the West Coast. He created the hyphy movement on the production side, produced for Tupac and some of everybody, E40, some of all that.
Okay.
So we were all in Alabama together.
Wow.
So they were the two making all the beats for us as artists. And I'm looking over their shoulders like, yo, what you just do?
Got you.
How you do that? You
Right.
know? And it kind of grew from there. You know what I mean? But when I started actually producing and I first got my MPC, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a student. And I literally shut down. Before I touched it, I studied music for almost 8 months.
Good, nice.
That's
what's up.
Classical music, and I would
Right.
sit down and listen and say, okay, what is it about that? I like the story it tells and sequencing. Okay, I'm gonna implement that. I listen to jazz. I listen to so many records to where I could look at a record cover and say, you know what, that's right around 1968 to 73 because it's got the psychedelic look or this and that, and that's gonna have good samples in it.
Yeah.
But I really just went in to where, you know, being a student, man.
That is dope, man. Yo, that's a dope story. So the MPC was your first piece of equipment that you learned on.
Yep.
From that, what other equipment that you started tampering with? Like, cause we see what's behind us. Look at all this piano. Look at the board. What did you elevate to after the MPC?
Well, I started off. We had the SB12, and with that, you know, of course, it had a very short sample time, so we had to speed the record up to get it in there. Because once you got it in, you could slow it up.
Yeah.
But so we started with that, and then we went to the MPC, and that was like the greatest thing ever to me. You know what I mean? I actually never left the MPC when I got there until later on, and it was No ID that got me to actually leave the MPC alone.
Wow.
He was like, okay, you got to work with reason and logic, and I'm like, man, I'm out here, man. I don't want to do that. And he was like, what got me to do it, he literally gave me all his sounds and presets from the 808 and Heartbreaks album that he did for Kanye. And I'm like, all right, you know what, bro? I'm going to do it.
Yo,
and
you came up with a nice class of producers, yo.
Oh, yeah.
So y'all just feed off each other, right?
Well,
so
I mean,
you like more like, you like banging on pads and all that instead of like the computer style.
Now, I mean, of course, it's become I'm on Logic. I'm a Logic man now. So
They got you.
Yeah, I love Logic, man. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a good time coming up because my peers was people like, Ninth Wonder. That's my brother. You know.
Come on, man.
And then of course our peers in the Southwise though, you had of course DJ Toon, Zaytoven.
Okay, wow.
Like
Dang.
I mean, Mike Will was a little homie. I actually started. I mentored Mike Will and got him making beats.
Yo, shout out to Mike Will.
Mike Will's my brother.
I just saw a recent YouTube interview he did with Forbes. Man, he leveled up crazy, man.
My bro. I'm
Salute
so
to
proud
Mike
of
Will,
him,
yo.
It was like when I met Mike, man, I was going to the studio to produce a record for Gucci. And we were going, we were over there at Patchwork. And it's about 3, 4 in the morning. Gucci want to record after he leave the club. So I'm in there half asleep waiting on him. And I see this little kid playing pool. I'm like, why is this little kid in here at 3:30 playing pool? Like all these cats smoking and everything else. And it was Mike. Wow. And Mike was like, yo, man, I want to, I love your music, I make beats. I said, well, come to the studio. So you come to Grand Hustle and I would just work with him. Nah, that ain't it. This, that, help formulate the sound. And I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Because when you help people for the right reason, you don't keep records.
Facts.
And I remember going in the studio one day, and I think I had to work with Slim Thug or something. And Grown Mike, I call him Grown Mike now, he got up and was like, K. And I'm like, what up, bro? And I'm trying to, because I'm like, you got a beard now. Like, I know who you are as a producer, but I didn't correlate. He was like, dude, my sound is the way it is because of you. I'm like, what you talking about? So then he ran the whole, I'm like, oh, snap. But stories like that just make me feel good.
That's awesome, bro. That is
the
awesome.
people I've been able to just, touch and work with. Man.
So talk about that transition coming to Atlanta. What drove you here? Because I guess that's when it started booming here, right?
Well,
was this around BMF era?
No, this was before BMF era.
Oh, okay.
So what drove me to Atlanta was being in Alabama, producing. Then I had my crew. My crew was called Crumb Snatchers at the time. We had like a rap clique. And we had our own little Wu-Tang story, right? So we going through the things. And finally, we had gotten our songs on the radio because they weren't rocking with local artists at the time.
Wow.
Matter of fact, we were one of the ones that made them create a homegrown thing where they could play local talent.
Nice.
And our song excelled past that, and we had like the #1 song in the city, and things were booming. But then that's when I realized that, man, okay, what's next? Because you can only perform in the local club so much before they get tired of seeing you. Like, how do we get beyond this?
Right.
And I realized that although we was kicking up so much dust in Alabama, to the major labels, Alabama was considered other with Wyoming and other smaller markets.
Right. Okay.
So it wasn't getting the attention regardless. So I was like, okay, I got to make a move.
Right.
And then it became one of those points to where I started seeing people that I respected and their parents like using me as the example of failure. Like telling their kids, you keep doing music, you're going to be like Khao, chasing the dream, doing nothing with your life. And I overheard one of the mothers of one of the little homies I was working with say that. And she didn't know I came in the house. And I was like, oh, man, that's what they think. And then I realized, like, either I'm going to start believing them or I got to get out of here.
Right.
So I took my leap of faith to Atlanta. I didn't have nothing. Mm-hmm. I saved up enough money because I was running a nightclub. I was doing all kinds of hustling in Alabama. But I came here, got an apartment, had enough for 3 months of rent and said, I'm going to have to find a job and figure it out.
Yeah.
Got a job, wasn't enough to make ends meet. Ended up living in my truck, homeless. Not going back home because I didn't want to prove nobody right.
Absolutely, yep.
So, I tell people all the time, part of my journey began now to where I'll be in the car and it's cold outside and I want to cut the heat on, but it's going to run my gas out.
Uh-huh.
And I had to make a choice. And it's like them moments was times to where what made me go through it was I would imagine being in moments like right now.
Definitely, yeah.
And reflecting, even though I was at that time there, to pull through. But it was just, and then I met a brother at a music store, and he was from New York, and like the girl with him kept saying, you gotta meet him, and I played him some music. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane in New York. I'm at his mansion in Long Island in a room full of all the equipment I can imagine. He brings some pizza down, bunch of records, and I was a ghost producer before I knew what happened.
What the fuck?
So,
wow, that
so
is a crazy story, bro.
Yeah, I was producing for this brother that, the code I would never, but he's a well-known producer. And I was blessed to be a part of some major records he was doing. Okay. And it got to a point to where I never forget, and this was a victory for me later on, but I was sitting in the studio because I would be in this basement cooking, and I was like, I want to go to some of the meetings.
No doubt.
So he's like, all right. So he took me. So I'm in there, and we were Lil' Kim. So I'm like, oh, snap. This one, Lil' Kim.
This the first album?
Not the first album. This one, she's on fire, though. Yeah. She's like, shout out to Queen. That's my sis.
Salute. Yeah.
We in the room, and I'm just like, trying to contain myself. I'm so excited.
Right.
So she's like, what you got for me? So he played some joints. She's like, all right. But like, he was doing a lot of partying at the time, so he wasn't cooking as much as he should. So he ran out of them 3 or 4 and it's like, what else you got? So they start playing my joints. Yeah. And she's like, why you was holding out on me? That's it. So I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh, snap. It's on. And then my man, the manager, saw that happening. And he just killed me. He was like, well, you know what? Actually, them joints is from my mans from Alabama. But
come on, bro.
And then at that point, she was like, oh, okay, that's dope. And then she kind of went back to like, so what you got for me to him? And I was like, oh. But it crushed me, but it also showed me something. It was a lit a fire in me.
I was going to say that.
It helped me understand that, one of those things where like, you know what? That's cool. And it helped me understand that name brand does matter. No matter how dope it is. Certain people, they got to have that title. Right. So I said, I got to become that title.
There you go.
So I said, you know what? I respect and love y'all for what y'all did for me, but I got to go become a title like you.
Yes, sir.
And that was where the turn of events went. Like at school.
That's dope, bro. That's a crazy story, bro. What was your sound like at that point back then? Because what we just heard just now, I'm like, yo, you on a different whole nother level. So because it's elevation, evolving and all that. So talk about you evolving in your music and your sound. Yeah.
I think because what worked best for me was because I studied music in so many areas, and like I can do a country record, a pop record, a rock record, and then turn around and do a straight up trap record and do a West Coast record. There's no lane that I can't do.
Yeah.
And I think as I ended up coming up, it was things I was trying, and I used to be messed up. Like I would try to define the way drums would work. Like I would listen to jazz and just zoom into the drummer, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
And I'm hearing all this, and I'm like, all right, I want to put that in a beat.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I heard "One in a Million" by Timbaland and Aaliyah, and I was crushed. I was about to cry because I was already doing that.
Yeah.
But I was going out for the jazz thing, and I had a slow beat, and I'm like, let me just, then people be like, it's off beat. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually on beat. It's a snare, but it's a stutter stare. And I was like, oh, he got me, he beat me to it. And I told Timbo that story one day, but it's like great minds. Like when you're in that frequency and you want to push the envelope once you've already mastered certain areas. So I was just this guy that had all this, but bottled up, but did not have the opportunity yet.
That's
you know
crazy.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope. Let's go back to the trap sound. When the trap sound hit ATL, who were some of the other producers that helped create that sound? So give us the history on that.
All right, so the history of that, you had Shorty Red, Zaytoven, you had DJ Toomp, you had people like Sanchez, you had of course at this point you had Jazzy Faye.
Okay.
You know, there was a group of just producers. You had Polo. There was a lot of us that was just here in Atlanta, right? And just coming up with, you know, with T.I. and just being a major part of that movement, it was one of those things to where we didn't know we was creating a new sound. We were just creating music that jams.
Yeah.
And, you know, the element of music, to me, trap music wasn't, before it was trap music, you had 8 Ball and MJG.
Okay.
And you had a vibe that was just pimped out with jamming, and you could just ride to it. So the whole gist was, yo, let's do that, but let's turn it up some more.
Yeah.
Let's go harder with it. And it was just pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was like, as we were producing T.I. and creating records, that's what we was going for. And then T.I. kind of made it the sound of trap music, because at that time, he was pushing the trap. He was the only one talking the trap.
Yeah.
And then I think as Jeezy came around, and then Jeezy was talking about the trap. And then I produced Last of a Dying Breed for Jeezy on that album. And it was just, you know, I was able to work with, you know, you had your Gucci Mans, you know, I was able to, it was like we were just that group of producers that was harvesting this sound that turned out to be a sound that's now transcended the country music and everything else.
Right.
So it's just dope, you know, just seeing how it all evolved to where it is now, you know.
Yo, that was a dope story, bro. That's what I wanted to hear. So talk about hooking up with T.I., because you got a few. Yo, coming to the studio, we've been playing Why You Wanna all the way to the studio.
What?
That, when that came out, when I saw that video, I said, oh, he got another one.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because that sample was like off Crystal Water.
It's on Crystal Water, yeah.
Talk about just connected with T.I. and all that.
The
whole Grand
movement.
Hustle.
So with T.I., it was crazy. When I was in high school, I knew if I was gonna make it out into the music business, I need to learn everything about the business.
Right.
So here I am in high school. I'm running a nightclub before I'm old enough to be in one. I'm on the radio station, DJing, have my own mix show. I'm doing all this stuff, right? And when I would be at the radio station, back then it was like, if you were independent, you were frowned upon. So we had a big trash bin that they would put all the independent stuff in. And I would dig in that trash bin, because I'm like, man, I'm independent. I don't want nobody to throw my music in the trash bin.
Absolutely.
So I would go in there, and I'll never forget, it was an artist named Mean Green. And I listened to his record, and I said, that's pretty dope. So I called the guy who was representing him, and a guy named Jason. So me and him got really cool via phone. I kept his record playing, kept him looking good for his job.
Yeah.
We bonded. Would talk, 4-5 times a week. Built the relationship, man, up, via phone. maybe met once or twice when I came to Atlanta.
Okay.
And that was it. So that was right before the saga hit when I went through moving to Atlanta, being homeless, doing this. So I lost contact. So full circle, I come back having to start up build my own brand.
Okay.
Around this time, Cash Money starting to pop and Master P's popping. So, well, Cash Money's coming out. So now every drug dealer wants to do a label, which is a good time for me because I'm selling beats.
Yeah.
So I come back home, partner with one of my partners, Mr. Rick. You know, that's my brother, but he was hustling back then heavy, and he's like, look, we're going to do a studio together. I'm like, let's run it. So I come back home, we do the studio. Everybody's coming to me for beats. Then there's a guy who came to me named Hustle, and Hustle was from the A, but was in Alabama, but he was the only artist he was like, I only want KO beats. So he would buy all my tracks, but he would get features on them. So he paid for Lil Jon to get on the track and the East Side Boys.
Okay.
He paid for this. So he was like, yo, I want to get this guy named T.I. on the track. I'm like, all right, how much you want? So he want 5 bands. I'm like, we're not paying nobody 5 bands. Are you crazy? Now at that point, I'm getting about $750 a track. I'm like, what you mean 5 bands? He's like, look, man. I said, well, look, he said, well, man, I'm a street nigga. I don't know. Won't you go negotiate it for me? I said, all right, bet. So I get to Atlanta. I'm sitting down with T.I. I talked him down to 4,500. So I'm feeling like I done did something.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there talking to his manager, and then he hands me the actual I'm Serious CD. And when he hands it to me, because I heard it, but I had a burnt copy. So I flip it around. I say, executive producer. I'm like, Jason Jeter? Know somebody like, and then at that moment it clicked. Jason Jeter, his manager, was the guy that I helped when I was in high school and kept his record playing and built a relationship with.
That's what's up.
And then we both realized at the same time, like, KO. So now me and him then left tipping them to themselves and we talking about life, catching up.
Yeah.
And that's when he was like, yo, man, to be real, like, it's kind of crazy right now because we just got dropped from Arista. And back then, when you got dropped from a label, it was almost like you had the plague. Like, what happened? What's wrong with you?
Okay.
But it wasn't nothing wrong. It was the fact of the deal they had. Somebody left the building, and you know how that happens. Stuff just fell through the cracks.
Right.
So at that point, they're like, and Jay was like, man, I remember you used to always talk about independent stuff. He was like, man, I'm a New York cat, so I just walk stuff in the building. I'm like, I said, man. And that's when I realized that moment hit, like, all this time and all the skills and the grind I've been doing is for me to serve in this moment.
No doubt.
And I went all in. So
That's
at that
a
point,
blessing.
I said, yo, let's take this album. I started getting certain songs off the album to the DJs in Alabama. And before you know it, Tip's performing 4-5 times a week in Alabama, making about $5,000, whatever he making. I never asked for a dime, doing my part, helping like, yo, let's help get the merch together. So the PSC, like everybody was like, so Big Country may have been on T-shirts. Somebody else may have been on the mix CDs.
Yeah.
We all put $100 in the pot together when we was getting the first Gangsta Grill CD together.
Right.
But we were building, and then the momentum just hit, and then it was like, from there, it was just navigating through the waters to get the right deal.
Got you.
So it was one of those things where I was just a part of that whole transition and movement to getting that partnership with Warner.
That is a blessing, bro. So talk about learning the business side now. So, because like you said earlier, branding is real heavy, important. How long it took you to learn the structure of the business of the music industry?
Because I jumped in and just had to learn to swim, it was the best way I could have learned. But prior to that, I was a student. The same way I studied different sounds of music. Remember the book, All You Need to Know About the Music Business?
I got the book, bro. I got the 11th edition, the new one.
See, that was my Bible at the moment. But back then, I'm reading that. I'm learning about contracts. I'm looking at all these things, and I'm like, yo, I got to know all this. Because I didn't have nobody having my back. I'm like, so I became the guy that could give everybody else advice, which then helped me give when it came to the situation with Grand Hustle. I had something to offer the Tip because I had already worked the wiggle with how to move independent and work stuff. So so just sharpening the skills, I knew it would come at some point. And that's kind of how that happened on that side.
Got you. What's some points out that book that really stuck to you that you implemented and your music or your business grind?
It's been so long. I embodied all of it.
Yeah.
It helped me understand what to look out for.
Right.
You know, I also learned certain lingo and learned certain things when I was looking at agreements and knew I may not have understood the full agreement, but if it was certain trigger points I saw, I was like, oh, nope, something ain't right about this.
Okay.
And it was just, the more I grew, the more different things just, I kept building. So where,
okay.
you know, to where before you knew it, I was looking at people's contracts like, yeah, you know, this ain't a good deal, this ain't this. And it just helped me navigate through the waters to where, you know, coming up in this, I never really had a manager. Of 30 million records sold, I've been my own person. I've never sold my soul, owned all my publishing. I navigated through the waters properly and built relationships the right way and just made it work.
So if you got that knowledge, do you think you need a manager? Would a new producer coming up in this business, would they need a man? What would they need to get started in this game if they trying to really take this business serious? Go get that book though, first of all.
Right. Know your
I'm trying
business.
to tell you, I ain't
Know
get
your
started. I
business.
got it in my suitcase right now. When I get on that plane, I'm gonna start reading immediately.
You know, bro, the biggest thing you can do is build your community. Mm-hmm. I say that because a lot of producers will be like, yo, I got this beat, I need to get it to the top artists. And they don't realize the politics around the top artists.
Right.
It's like wrestling, bro. You know, It's like you got wrestling, but the head of WWE already know there's only a tag team champion, or a heavyweight, or this or that, and the female champion, and whoever those people are, they already have them under paperwork.
Yeah.
And then they got the middleman who's eating off them too, and then all of a sudden when the project hits, they get it all first.
Right.
So by the time a Who's Looking list come out, it might be one or two straggling records that's not going to be singles, but they say, let's put it out there and see if somebody gets us anything. Yeah. So when you learn how it works, you're like, yo, I got to build a community so I can be in the mix of those situations.
Right.
Like I was a part of building the community to where when T.I. came up, I was right there. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Make no mistake. There was nothing handed to me. Tip will tell you that. When we did King album, which was like one of the head producers on that record, Tip would have me in the studio on every session. So I'm in there with Timbaland. I'm in there with Dre. I'm in there with all these artists. And what Tip would do every time is sit them in there and say, he'll play Why You Wanna. I did Stand Up Guy on that album. Mm-hmm. I did Undertaker. I did Hello. He would play my records and then say, I need you to top that. And I'm sitting there like, nigga, that's Timbaland. Why you gonna? That's like if I'm rapping, that's like you go let Kendrick Lamar hear a verse and say, now top it.
Yeah.
All my punchlines out here, cuz why are you doing me like this?
Right.
But what I created for Tip, no one could top the Why You Want It.
Right.
Not that they're not great producers, but that vibe was something that was meant. And because of that, bro, it helped me too, to help me realize, like, because I'm a humble dude, so it helped me realize, no, I'm actually dope at this.
That's right.
Like, I actually had to go to toe with everybody. And I came out all right.
Yeah.
So, it was a blessing on that.
Talk about that track, Why You Wanna, man. When you turned that machine on, what was you thinking about before you even started touching the pads and putting that whole
Why
sound?
You Wanna was...
Bro, that joint, man, stayed on repeat. I think I got a few thousand views from me. Spinning that song so many times.
Man, Why You Wanna transpired in a sense of actually me helping teach one of my proteges certain components on production.
Really?
Yeah, and I was shown, it was like learning the art of sampling. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you hear this record, what do you hear? Like, I hear this, it sound like, this guy. I said, well, what if I slow it down? What it feel like? I was showing them different records, like when you're looking for samples, speed it up first, slow it down. Go to the middle of the record because there may be a break that switches up. That
Okay.
So it was one of those components.
Okay.
And it was like, all right, so let's do this. It's a project. Boom, you and I can work on this. And I'll never forget, like, it was just a project we was working on. And then it was years later, bro. That track was done a long time ago. And I'm riding in the car. And back then, of course, we had all the CDs. So I pulled out an old beat CD. I'm popping it in. And, bro, I hear the record. And I just had a talk with Tip about this because at this time it was like Jeezy was starting to pop heavy. Mm-hmm. And Jeezy was repping the trap. Tip was the trap, king of the South.
Yeah.
And it was like an area to where I was just talking to Tip like, yo, you can only be rookie of the year for 1 year. I said, let's go and get in the circle and have our records with Jay-Z and this person and that person.
Yep.
So in my mind, I was like, I need to find him a grown and sexy record.
Yeah.
So I'm riding in the car.
And I think that's when the shift was too, bro.
Yeah.
It was that point right there. Because I said, when I saw that video, that's just that sound, that beat, I said, oh, he got another one.
Yeah.
They out of here.
That's what happened, bro. I'm riding in the car. I hear the record. I'm like, that's Tip's record. I go to the studio. Tip was working on a Kanye record. I come in like, Tip, I got your record, bro. He's like, well, I'm going to finish the Ye record. I'm saying, nah, I got your record. No disrespect to Ye. That's the homie. But I'm like, so I go in the other studio because at that time, the Grand Hustle studio we had, you had to leave out of the A room and walk past the B room to get to the booth.
Okay, wow.
I go in the B room, I crank the record up. So he going to record the Ye record, and then he hearing the beat, and he's like, oh, snap. And I keep it crunked up. So he's like, man, what you got? I'm like, all right. So I explained like, it's that record. He went in the booth, man, Tip don't write nothing down.
Really?
He go in there, he'll just walk around for a minute and be like, all right.
He always been like that?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Holy shit.
So Tip get in there, and boom, we had Why You On It. And I'm like,
how long it take to record that?
It didn't take long, bro. It probably took him about 30, 45 minutes.
Stop, man. Come on, B. Wow, yo, shout out to Tip, man. Y'all killed that one.
And it went from there, bro.
Damn, man. Thank you for that one.
No doubt.
Why You Wanna? We're gonna go while I'm hearing a little that, I'm listening to that all day. New KO, new sound. What we doing? What new artists you working with now? Shout out to Phoenix and Flo. Yeah. They in the building. Are y'all gonna get a project together? Look, I'm throwing all of you.
We gonna see. We turning the wheels.
Damn right.
See what's happening.
So what's some of the new artists you working with now?
Man, so there's a few projects that's going on right now. Of course, I'm scoring films. I'm still producing for everybody. But I got an album that will be released not this year. I'm gonna release it after. I got a project I just did. I'm gonna talk to you about.
Okay.
But before I actually did this project, I did another project, and it was my Quincy Jones meets Khaled on steroids.
Really? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Gonna be nuts.
Now, and it was me coming back to the music game because I took time to just do my work of helping the community. And I wrote a textbook that teaches character building and life skills through music and produced songs to it and got an education. And so I'm in schools all over the country in Africa and other things. Megan Good partner with me and we teach the course. And just really, I've been able to really make a lot of change.
That's good.
Through my nonprofit. So I went in that road for a while and then I came back.
Okay.
And when I came back, this album hit. So I got 50 of the biggest artists in hip hop infused in 15 tracks.
Oh, my Lord, have mercy.
And when I say I got everybody on there, it's crazy.
Can you name a few, just a little, one or two or three?
I'll give you an idea. One song in particular, I got T-Pain on the hook, Big Crit, Moneybagg Yo, and 2 Chainz.
We out of here.
That's just one record. Like, the single Done With Her I had, Lil Baby, Gucci Man, YB in the Mirror.
So it's a lot of artists mashed up on tracks?
Yeah, but it's not like a Khaled or it's not like a situation where you just go grab features.
Yeah.
I'm producing. So the record I produce, I'm like, this record could have been any one of their singles, but I'm going to pull people that would have never worked together before.
Understood.
I'm going to mix legends with who got next.
That's dope.
And so I put it together to where it's like, it's dope. It's crazy.
Are the artists coming here? Is everything produced in this studio?
No, to put that kind of project together, man, and I did it in a matter of less than 6 months. Out of just the relationship.
Right.
So, I had situations to where, I'll give you an example. My gift to the West Coast. Because what I did when I came back, I realized, man, dang, we created a sound of trap music, but now it's like, I loved hip hop earlier because New York had their sound, DC had their sound, Miami had Booty Shake, West Coast had theirs, Detroit had their sound, and now everything sounds like it's from Atlanta.
Yeah, yep.
I'm like, wait a minute. Shout out to now the drill movement and stuff. It shifts happening, but at the time I'm like, yo, we gotta So I said, you know what? Let me reinstill some joints. So I did my gift to the West Coast. On that record, I got Problem. I got Nipsey laid a verse. It was probably 3 months before his passing. Rest in peace, Nip, my homie.
Rest in peace, bro.
I got Snoop. I got Game. I got Mozzie. I got G Perico.
Oh, shout out to G Perico.
And then I ended the last verse off.
You got Filthy Rich?
No, I got E40.
Salute E40. Whoa.
And I ended it with Ice-T. All on one track.
Shout out to the legend.
So that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. Like, and that was one of the first records since All in the Same Game where we actually unified the West Coast, which I'm excited about because now it's what Kendrick's doing. Shout out to the homie Kendrick. That's my bro too. It's like a lot of them conversations was brewed off this particular record that I did.
Wow, that's good.
That brought certain people together that wouldn't have never worked together.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the project is epic. It's called Bad Brains for Life. It's titled Bad Brains because it's a tribute to the punk rock band Bad Brains, which people don't know. They started punk rock, but they're all brothers. And the story, black people started punk rock.
Okay, break it down. Give us that history.
The story in this is they started this music, but the higher ups like, nah, this needs to stay over here. So that's where Afro-punk came from, kind of like the Negro League baseball.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all get Afro-punk.
Yeah.
We got this. Boom. So this story has been suppressed for a long time, but the people that know. Like they started it and they got banned from doing shows in DC because the people didn't know what was going on with the mosh pit and everything they were doing.
Yeah.
So they thought it was this violent show. Y'all can't do it here. So they had to go to New York to do shows. And that made everybody go follow them. Like, so you had people like Beastie Boys, Run DMC. These people were big fans of Bad Brains because Bad Brains was that group. Who's been kicked out of a state and you can't perform no more? That was gangster as ever. Right. So they created this. They had their own shoe line with Vans before anybody else. All of this stuff, man. And they kind of now shifted. Like a lot of skateboarders wear this stuff.
Okay.
And there's people that rock this stuff that don't even know the history. And I didn't know the history.
Yeah.
But I learned the history and I met a good friend of mine, John. And John had invested in my nonprofit. And at that point, he was telling me about Bad Brains. And he introduced me to him. And they were like, we want our legacy to live on. Because they were supposed to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they kept getting stripped away. Because that would require the story to be told.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, anything I can do, I'll do. They was like, can you turn that stuff hip-hop? I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I will. I'll try. And I broke the MPC out. I had to step from Logic and went to the MP for that.
Okay.
Because I had to chop. Because you're talking, I'm trying to say, how do I make this hip-hop?
Right.
But every song on that album is a piece of their DNA in it. So it wasn't like I had my hands tied behind my back.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I just... But I think that in itself is going to show everybody the kind of producer I am.
Yo, KO, man, salute to you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. But I want to touch on like your nonprofit organization. How important is it when you reach success to come back and give back to the community or just help pull the next person up?
It's everything, man. If we can't align, the way we truly get blessed is when we align our gift with our purpose.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying? There's so many people who've got a gift and they're miserable because they're doing records, but it's not aligned with what they want to do.
Right.
And they didn't realize they're in a system where they have no choice but to do that. You know, so I was able to, after my dad passed, you know, that's what did it. He used to tell me, don't just be successful, be significant.
I like
and
that.
And after his passing, things weren't the same for me. I'm in award shows and Grammys, and I'm like, what's next?
Right.
I didn't work with all the artists I wanted to work with. What's next? And I was looking for that significance. I went to an award show I was being honored at in Alabama, and the president of Martin Luther King's organization went to that award show as well. And he got in front of all of us and said, on behalf of Dr. King, my generation, and myself, I apologize to everybody in this room for not passing the torch. And it's a lot we can learn.
Right.
I never heard an older gentleman apologize to us at the time, which we were the youngins, about anything. So it inspired me and it made me realize I'm so busy chasing money, our generation about to repeat the process.
There you go.
You know, you think about it, we sit back and we be like, man, these youngins crazy nowadays. We was them youngins at one point that they were talking about with us.
There you go.
I'm like, yo, how do we change this? So I prayed on it, man. I woke up. God gave me a vision. I had a dream, the same dream 3 times. And God, I wrote a book. I got up and I told my wife, yo, I'm supposed to write a book. And this book's got to teach our youth how to persevere through the problems they face.
Right.
And I'm going to produce songs for every chapter.
Yeah.
And she rolled with me on it. And then I just went to work. People thought I was crazy. Cause how you just did a Jay-Z record and you talking about you finna stop? And, you know, because most people try to do this after they done made their money and say, okay, no, I was in the height of everything.
That's dope.
And took the leap.
Right.
And as I built this, it was so many people that was inspired that was like, yo, I'm riding with you. So that's how Making Good got involved. And me and her teach the course via video. Wow. And then it went from that to different people from all walks of life just hopped on board.
Okay.
You know what I mean? People
awesome,
like
man.
Carrie Schwab, the daughter to Charles Schwab, billionaire.
Wow.
I want to hop on the board.
Yeah.
People like Ronnie Lott, NFL Hall of Famer. People like Ben Carson, you know, world-renowned doctor, but then turned politician. He saw the book and said, this is going to help a bunch of kids. I want to help.
Yeah.
So it broadened my reach and took me to rooms where I'm sitting in rooms with presidents. I got a presidential award from Obama, doing all these things that's totally so much bigger than what the music could provide.
Right.
But it was all rooted by the music.
That's right.
You know?
Talk about the curriculum, or what are y'all giving to the youth? Is it music based?
It's all music based.
Can they get this online, or
They
do
can
y'all
get it online,
do y'all
yeah.
travel around to different schools, or how can they get this?
It's online.
Okay.
It's an online course.
What's the website? Give them the website. We want to get this out to the masses,
we
bro.
got to, man. So it's bridgedagap.org. Okay, that's Bridge DA for Developing Academics Gap. Bridgethegap.org is the nonprofit. You know, we've had a lot of support. You know, Nipsey supported us. We were gonna do a lot of big things, and you know, he was launching his schools and other things. We had you know, people like Kevin Hart. A lot of people just Luda got it. Like was like, yo, we rocking with you.
Yeah.
But it's bridgedagap.org. And then I started something called Curriculum.
Okay.
But that's with a K. So KOOLRICULUM. Curriculum.
That's dope.
.com. And I did that because I had all these superintendents say, well, now, dang, you're helping our kids, as far as behavior and what they're dealing with emotionally, but what do you have for the academic side? So then I took 5 more years, and dude, I produced over 650 songs, K through 12, math, science, social studies, and English, aligned to the Common Core, and produced videos for it.
Come on, bro.
And it's called Curriculum. So anything, you could go on there, type in what you're having trouble with, it's a banging song for it.
Is there a website for that one too?
It is. It's curriculum.com. KOOLRICULUM.com. So that's Curriculum. And then I created this thing called Cool AR, which I'll show you. It's insane.
Okay.
With a book, you know, it's for the little kids.
Okay.
And then, you know, I aim my phone at the book, and these little cartoon characters hop out on top of the book, and it's my music videos, and then kids, 3-year-olds doing timetables.
Wait.
Crazy.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to get that created? What company creates these type of things?
Well, see, I had to.
Or was it just
I had to create it.
Okay.
So I had to get up with some guys overseas, give them my vision, because it was 2 or 3 different layers of technology we did to create it.
Thank you. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it was
absolutely.
a hybrid at the time, and still, you know, you have the QRC code thing where you can scan it in some shows, but I had that mixed with augmented reality. So you have the code, and you got the characters, and right in your face in 4D dancing along, and
Come on.
so it's crazy. So that's Cool AR. We also did a project called BH365, which is the first real Black history book for our youth. For our people, from ancient Africa to current times.
Can we show that book, or that's not ready yet? Or
It's done. I don't have that physical book with me. I got the lyric book. So the lyric book is right here. So I produce songs for the whole joint. So it's like you got literally 40-something songs and the lyrics to it and everything. And it goes, so it's like learning Black history.
Oh, this is
from
dope.
Ancient Africa to current times through music.
Wow, this is dope, bro.
And see, this is the original Bridge the Gap book before it went online and everything else. And that's the character building book. But now, you know, it's easy read, pictures, you know.
Gotcha, okay.
Real dope, you know, whole workbook, whole thing. But
this is dope, bro.
So on that end, you know, we have those components. And then it went on to like just kept growing on that side. So the new project I'm really proud of. Bro. I know I got a lot of projects going on.
Go. We want to get all this out there.
This is the project that's about to drop, and it's more than a project. It's an actual movement.
Yeah.
It's called Human, but it's Humen.
Yeah, I see it on the monitor right
Right,
there. Yeah, okay,
right.
break that down.
So, Human is a project that really God led me to do, where I tell people all the time, 2013 was probably the toughest year that I ever dealt with.
Okay.
It's because, with KMG Studios and with being an entrepreneur, when you take a leap, you only know one way to leap, and that's hard. You go all in.
Right.
You know what I mean? You take real chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the mix of doing this, I was in a situation where I invested millions into getting everything up, and then the writer's strike hit. So I just made it through the pandemic, put up some more money because I had contracts on deck, and the writer's strike hit. So for 13 months, couldn't make a dime.
Right.
But you got staff, you got people depending on you, everything got to stay afloat.
Yep.
So it hit me in such a way that I was questioning a lot of things.
I was going to say that. Did it discourage you?
Of course.
Had to.
It affected me as a man. I'm like, dang, am I providing properly?
Yeah.
Am I being the best husband I could be? I'm like questioning everything, but I took that pain I was dealing with and actually created this project.
Okay.
And every feeling and emotion I was dealing with became a topic. And then I began to write on each topic. And I produced tracks that fit the vibe of each topic.
Gotcha.
So it took 8 months to write this album. But depending on what I was dealing with that day, I was like, I'm feeling this way. I'm supposed to be writing on this song today.
Right.
And I would just write and write and write. So it's no fillers. It's all direct punchline. It's crazy. The album's crazy.
Yeah.
And from there, I wrote a book with it.
Okay.
And it's also like workbook and affirmations. And we actually shot videos for every song. And it's becoming now this movement for men that are mental health, and just for men in general, empowering us. For there's so many men that fight our battle every day to feed our families, and we feel like we're forgotten. We feel like we're in the shadows. And it's not because our loved ones don't love us, but they look at it like that's what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
But we still have to go through so much to do it. And that's why it's like we feel it's a lot of unappreciated men, but it's like this right here gives us what we need to get up every day get in that battle. So it's a whole movement. It's called Human, man. I'm so proud of it. And it's.
Is there a website for that too?
You know what?
Or how is this getting out to the people?
Right now we're doing all the call to action. So you're at the early steps.
Salute.
Like the book just got edited.
Okay.
The album's done. We're in the process of now looking at the release date on everything.
Okay.
So by the time this probably airs, we'll have everything out. But right now we're just launching all the social media pages for it.
Okay.
It's about to happen.
We definitely gonna follow that.
Absolutely. And we'll have the website, and which is going to be a component where we're going to tour, and it's going to become safe spaces for men to come out and just share their truth, get inspired, get back in that fight, get filled back up.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really big. We're hooking up with a lot of the community that deals with mental health awareness.
Right.
Nationally, and they're going to be partaking it to use it as their main tool.
Gotcha.
We're going into prison systems.
Nice.
So it's like a lot. It's about to be a huge movement, bro.
Man, KO, man, you blessings on top of blessings, brother.
Appreciate it, bro.
We just want to give you your flowers here in Rhymes and Politic, man. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your spirit, brother. Just sit here, listen to your story. It was so dope. Got that trap history. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
What's some good advice you can give to that next up-and-coming producer?
Man, serve, bro. Serve. I know that sounds crazy because you thinking I got to go get it. This is my window. But all of my blessings came from me trying to help somebody else.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And if you're trying to get there, you find people that are like-minded like you, and that's ready to grind like you.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of producers that'll meet somebody that's super talented, but at the same time, that artist may be talented, but he don't got the work ethic. He feel like because he's so talented, he ain't got to do nothing.
Yep.
And it don't go nowhere. You got to find the right artist with the right hunger and pour into that artist and allow that to grow.
Yeah.
And if y'all both going hard, then you become like what Zaytoven was to Gucci, or what Shorty Red was to Jeezy, or what me and Toomp was for T.I. And like, you know, you can become these things by finding your right team.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And actually serving, bro. Serving. It always comes back.
That's right. How can the people follow you?
All right, y'all IG is KHAO Music, all right? That's the same with Twitter or X. It's KO Music. You know, if you're on Facebook, it's KO as well, KO Kates. So yeah, and I think it's the same with TikTok too, KO Music all the way around.
What's the pages for Human?
Huh?
Is the pages up for Human? HUMEN? Is the social media pages up
It
for
is.
that
You
yet?
know what? On Facebook right now, we got if you go to KO and Human, HUMEN, we have a group we just started. And it's a lot of men that's getting in right now and getting involved. And that way you'll be able to stay up to date with the website and everything we'll be doing.
Okay. Any social media pages for Bridge the Gap?
Bridge the
Look,
Gap.
I want to get all your stuff out there. We support you,
know
brother.
What? If you just look up Bridge the Gap, should be Bridge the. I think it's an underscore and it's Bridge _ DA Gap.
All those links on your main social media page?
Yeah, they should be.
There we go. That's
and on
follow
the
his
website
page.
as well.
You're gonna find all you need to find, all the information, all his goods, his music. KO, I salute you, brother, man. My hip hop spirit feels so good right now.
Appreciate it,
Thank
bro.
you for this opportunity. Just sitting here next to you,
No doubt,
giving us this dope tour, this dope studio. Is this studio open to the artists?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or because
we're it's open to the artists. Feel free to check it out. Now IG for KMG is kmgstudio.co. kmgstudio.co. And yeah, come check us out. Also, we got a lot of great things coming with KMG on the consultant end. So I'm working with a lot of up and coming artists, literally helping them from everything from their paperwork, their business, to artist development, production, to music videos, all the way to, we got worldwide distribution, all the way to helping them on marketing and charting.
Yeah.
So the whole aspect, you know, laid out. Yeah.
This is a dope facility too, man. Come down here, check them out, tap in with them. Production is off the chain. What we just heard just now, that was just one joint. I said, oh man, KO, stop, bro. But yo, KO, I appreciate you, King, man. Keep doing your thing, man. Rhymes and Politics, we got your back. We support you. We're gonna keep our eyes on you, bro. Anything you need us for, we here for you, brother.
Amen.
Yo, multi-platinum producer, KO is in the building. Forefather of that trap sound, you heard?
Hey.
And he, not only that hip hop shit too.
Hey.
You heard?
You already know.
KO, salute to you, King. Thank you, brother.
Bros.